And welcome back to Let's Play Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. In the last episode, we took on a bunch of bandits at Nevassa, the Dayan capital, met Micaiah, Edward, and Leonardo. And now we have a little bit of background history for those of you that have not played Path of Radiance. So Dayan and Crimea had a war, and Crimea won. They also had Benyon help them, and they could choose to rule Dayan if they wanted. Crimea could have, and they chose not to. And unfortunately, now the Benyon Empire is taken over. So the chapter or part 1 will focus primarily on Dayan.
Occupation forces have gathered all Dayan men of fighting age and put them to work, and their work is brutal.
So yes, as they mentioned, they take all the men and put them into work camps. And there's a few people that escaped the Benyon army and formed the Dawn Brigade. And they're the only people that have really given the others hope and all that good stuff. So we have Micaiah, who has mystical powers. People of Dayan know her as the Silverhead Man. They think of her as the savior. Benyon has tried to capture them, but Micaiah has an ability to tell when danger is about to show up. So they've been able to evade the Empire. So Chapter 1, The Maiden of Miracles. So they talk about how should they explain yesterday to Soth and Nolan. Nolan is the last member of the Dawn Brigade, and we'll see him in a second. So they talk about how Crimea won the war, so it's not their country anymore, apparently. And keep in mind, it is Benyon, not Crimea, so Crimea's still fine. So we have Soth and Nolan. Nolan's the guy in the back with the beard, and he's got that little look. He's like, I'm pondering everything because my hand is on my beard, or goatee, or whatever that is. It took longer to get past the guards. Is there something we should know? They explain what happened. Whenever you see a blackout like that, it's usually explaining something. You gotta run in with bandits. Were you seen healing anybody with sacrifice? Sacrifice is an ability she has. She can cut her own HP and give health to another unit. Unfortunately, I didn't use that, even though it says that somebody did see that, apparently. And then they talk about how healing without staves or spells is rare, almost unheard of. We should probably leave. So they decide to leave Nevassa, the Dayan capital. An alley in Nevassa. Just some random alley here. So they talk about this is the the least guarded path. The least guarded path. So they're gonna head over there by the church into the marketplace. For some idiotic reason, they want you to put Edward in the back. Do not put Edward in the back. He is a really good unit. You're gonna want to keep him in the front. Victory boss tutorial, no. The last victory we had was called routing. That means killing everybody. The victory of defeating boss is defeating the guy with the little shield thing right there. For the record, if the weapon is red like this one is, that means you will gain it after you defeat them. Which is actually kind of nice, because they didn't do that in the last game. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Leonardo, and if you ever see an open door like this, you can walk up to it and hit visit, and they will usually give you an item, like a Vulnerary, for example. And so we're going to go ahead and fight this guy. And the weapon triangle does make its return. As you can tell, the steel axe picture has an arrow going up and the bronze lance has an arrow going down. That means that the axe will fare better against the lance than normal, because lance against lance will obviously be the same, and sword against lance will be, the sword will be weaker. So sword beats axe, axe beats lance, lance beats sword. That doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to lose if you have something against you on the weapon triangle. It just means that you have a slight disadvantage, but if you're a better unit, then it won't matter anyway. Alright, this guy will be out. Now, for some reason, a lot of people actually didn't know this one either, and I'm really surprised that a few people didn't know this. But this right here is actually another door you can go into. A lot of people are like, oh, really? I didn't know that. But if you go in here, you will get a hand axe, which is a ranged axe, and it's very good. So I would definitely recommend getting it. Alright, it's now the enemy's turn. Oh, just out of reach. Too bad for him. I kind of want somebody to get a critical so I can show it off. And we have a weapon level up. Which, as you can see right there, you have weapon levels on the side of all the different types of things you can add. Sword, lance, axe, bow, knife, strike, which is for Leguge units, we'll get into that later. All the spells, and staff. Yeah, that's right, dark spells are actually new. They were not in the last game. Dark is now a spell, which is awesome. All the dark spells look really cool. Now, the idea for most of this is to use Nolan and Edward to block the attacks and use Micaiah and Leonardo for ranged attacks. If you couldn't already tell, because Leonardo can only attack at range, Micaiah can't die, and she can attack at a range, which would make it safer. And Nolan's got a lot more HP, so you can be a little bit less careful with him. Since his HP is 29 and Edward's is only 19. That doesn't make Edward any less of a good unit, though. He's a fantastic unit. There's that critical I was looking for. The skill Wrath, whenever your HP falls below, I think it's 20%, your critical hit will increase by 50, so you're pretty much going to get a critical. They don't state it outright, but that's basically what happens. Now, keep in mind, I said the red item, the steel sword, after you defeat this guy right here, it will, you'll get the steel sword. Whoever defeats him will get the steel sword, so make sure that it's Edward that defeats him. You could do some trading, but it's honestly not worth it. And it's just easier to kill him with Edward. Now, if you're playing this on normal mode, the goal will actually be to escape, and that will be to defeat one of these two guys right here, and then there will be a yellow thing right here, and then you can escape on that by standing on it and hitting escape. Alright, so he's probably just going to attack Edward. Those two guys down there don't actually move. You do have your first archer down there, which I guess is something, but it's not really that big of a deal. And keep in mind the boss won't move, so if you want to just gradually pick off his HP little by little, then go ahead. Let's go ahead and show off the hand axe here. Alright, we're not going to kill this guy, but we are going to get rid of the archer and the boss right now. And keep in mind with Micaiah that mages typically don't have very good defense, so they're probably going to take more damage from actual weapons like bows, axes, lances, and swords. Whenever it comes to other spells, though, they have much better protection. Just thought I had to point that out. Okay, we're just going to wait right here, because I know the boss won't move, and apparently that guy won't either. I'd recommend taking out all the units just because for the EXP sake. You do get bonus EXP if you complete the turns faster, but using bonus EXP, you won't get as good stat upgrades, so it's actually better to just get it from battle. Alright, so let's finish him off. And we get the steel sword. Yes, he literally just said moldy onions. Where'd they go? Alright, just for the record, I like to point out here, watch where the arrow hits the one person that it does. If you were paying attention, it got him in the foot. Help him quickly, this child is dying. What? He got shot in the foot! I mean, there's gonna be some minor discomfort, but there's no way you're gonna die. Worst case scenario, you'd have to get it amputated off due to an infection, but that's it, really. Now look, there's not even an arrow on him now. And it couldn't have been on his stomach because he got shot while he was facing away from them, so it would be on his back. And because sacrifice weakened Micaiah, now she's unconscious, so Seth carries her off. And Jared shows up. And Jared yet again shows no mercy in killing 3 of the guys. It said able-bodied men. I'm assuming that they must have had like some sort of illness or something. I don't know. So outside of Nevassa, they say that they can't go back, but they will someday, and they do. But that is the end of part 1, chapter 1, the Silver-Haired, or the Maiden of Miracles. We'll see you guys next time. Later.